How has online dating worked for you? Met a girl on Plenty of Fish. We went out a few times but it didn't really work out. We are still friends and talk frequently 3+ years later. I met my wife in a less traditional online setting. We met on Xbox Live 6 years ago. Edit. I was playing Forza Horizon and she joined the party chat I was in. No clue what she was playing. I met a boy online 14 years ago when I was 17. He was in Alaska, I was in Australia, but he was my online dating boyfriend. He's currently sitting next to me in Australia as my husband of 8 years. 10/10ths would find in the abyss of the internet and marry so hard again. I married and divorced a man I met on Tinder, so, yes and no. Got married to the person I met online dating. After countless shit dates, it was just really nice, relaxed, and we just clicked. We've barely been apart since, and that was 10 years ago. A guy messaged me on FB out of the blue talking about my Tinder profile. Said we go to the same university and that it was the only way to reach me since we weren't matched. Long story short, it was mostly an inappropriate and one-sided 5-minute conversation. Had to delete my account after that. Started Tinder for a few months. 2 to 3 months no matches. Redid my pictures twice, still nothing. Deleted and haven't tried again. Thinking of trying again. Not great. Highlights include the dude that kept texting me pictures of Hitler until I blocked him, several who got too drunk to stand, one who puked as I tucked him in and then called me a snotty bitch for not fucking him, and the guy who licked my face with no preamble on the ride home. Yeah, I'm done lol. I had a girlfriend on RuneScape a few years ago. 2 years ago I was swiping through Bumble on a boring, unnecessary conference call and I swiped right on the woman I will be marrying later this year. Messaged by a girl on Bumble who was wearing a pro wrestling and a Mass Effect shirt in 2 different pics, and responded immediately. Been dating for over a year now. Met my ex-girlfriend on Tinder. 2 years together followed by an unhealthy, adult breakup. We still keep a good relationship post-breakup. I think we were both so ready to find someone right at that time that we haven't stopped to take time for each of us as a person. We became one person as a couple and not two people part of a team. We were doing literally everything with each other and that led to our downfall. Still like her very much though and probably always will. I guess my advice is a lot of people are ready to put everything on the fast lane while dating online and that's a mistake. Take your time. Matched my missus on Tinder. Both type 1 diabetic, both worked in the same company. Became the factory legend because I got with an office girl. Now we live in Arundel with the river in our back garden, laughing face, rarely match, when I do get a couple messages back and forth of pleasantries and getting to know then ghosted. Every time. Never gotten a date with anyone from online. Girl I met online I dated for a few months. Turns out she was temporarily separated from her husband. She started seeing another guy without anyone else knowing. I find out she was cheating on me and still married when the wife or girlfriend of the guy she was messing around with spray painted her car when she was caught at his house one night. The police called me to figure out where I was that night and told me she was married but not to the guy she had been spending the night with. This was the same day my mother died. Married the first girl I dated who I met online. It was on my BBS, and 25 years ago, but it did work. I was skeptical about it but I swiped aggressively, both left and right, for 2 weeks hoping something would work out. Ended up that after 3 weeks I had a date, with 2 separate girls, Saturday, and one Sunday. Saturday flaked the morning of, claiming to be too hungover to make it. Mind you, this was 10 hours before the agreed time, so I was not impressed. I was cool about it though, said we could reschedule for later in the week. Second girl messaged me that afternoon asking if I wanted to meet that night instead. I said yeah absolutely, thinking, hey, that's pretty neat. So we agree to meet at a restaurant of her choosing, and I show up 5 minutes early. Get there, and there's a private event that's closed to the public. So now I'm thinking this is quite a curveball. I wonder if I will have to pretend to know someone at their private corporate event. It wasn't that, though, she just didn't know about the private event. So we went somewhere else. Been seeing her for over a month now, and it's going great. Sure, there are plenty of horror stories, but really my personal opinion is that even if you have 9 bad dates, it only takes one for it all to turn around. I may have gotten lucky, it is still early, but even if I hadn't, if you are serious about wanting a relationship, you have to keep trying. It won't fall out of the sky. If you're looking at my numbers, horrible, but if you're looking at my experiences, great. I wasn't truly searching for a boyfriend, but I met a boy online and we started dating in 2016. He moved in a year and a half later and we just celebrated our 4-year anniversary. Tried serious dating, just ended up increasing the number of men I've slept with. Met my current partner and future wife. Long story short, met the love of my life on POF in Sep 2018. Soulmate who completed me. Made me and my body sing. He got diagnosed with cancer in January 2019, given 12 to 18 months to live. Died December 2019. So, very good for 14 wonderful months. I'm too ugly for Tinder, but just attractive enough to get random ads from some women on Facebook. Haven't met anyone I really connect with, though. Very successful, had many marriages. Currently laying next to my best Tinder match and our dog. And I wouldn't want it any other way. I joined Tinder after I had broken up with my ex as per my friend's insistence just to have fun. Within 3 days I had matched with a guy with who we never ran out of things to say, so a week later we met up and we just clicked. Fast forward, it's now been 3 years that we are together and even more in love than when we first met, and we even have a house together. Red heart. I was invited to a gangbang. Too bad the girl never showed up. Still had sex though. I seem to attract men who are toothless. Before, blowing money on video games and fast food, lonely and slept as much as I could. After, married, have a daughter, I'm part of her family now and I love them all. Home is clean and comfortable and we're smart with our money and we'll have a house with land before too long. We met online, talked almost every day for a year. Met, dated, got married and 12 years later still together. Met a few crazies, but then found someone truly psychotic enough to marry me. Slightly smiling face. Not well whatsoever. The matches I have either ghost me or send a few messages then never text again. It's also bots that I get as well. Got to a point I just stopped bothering very much. I feel like I've become too reliant on it. I've met all my exes through apps and I wish I knew how to meet people the old-fashioned way. Met my wife on Tinder. Don't tell anybody that though. Heavy case of mistaken identity. Who's Bob Vision? Not at fucking all. Friend of mine met his wife online. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing wrong. I put in 0 effort. I've got 0 results. Funny that. Terribly for the first half a year or so. I was about to give up when I found a girl with a really high match percentage to me. We went out and now over 4 years later we're engaged and living together in a new state. So in the end, it worked out pretty well. A good friend met her husband online, and before she met him she'd had a few other less successful relationships from online dating sites. No horror stories, just things that didn't work out. Met my wife via online dating. When I came to the US there was no other way to meet women. All the women in grad school had boyfriends since high school or were already married. So I gave online dating a shot. It was a roller coaster process, but in the end I met my wife, so it all worked out well. I met an awesome Canadian flight attendant. She was flying here to Germany once or twice a week. We dated for some time. Unfortunately it didn't work out in the long run, but it was a great experience and I still consider her a good friend. Matched with a girl on Tinder and we decided to meet up. She looked a lot chubbier in person, but I didn't mind. Problem was, she brought her fat best friend without telling me, and she stayed throughout our date. I was pretty much left out of place the whole time. I spotted a guy at my local bar doing lights for the band that was performing, and I sadly got kicked out before approaching him, for using the men's washroom because I couldn't wait in the huge woman's lineup, lol. Anyway, so I immediately downloaded Tinder to see if I could find him, and I did, and he matched me. We're still kicking it 3 years later. Thanks Tinder. We'll be celebrating our 12th wedding anniversary this year. He's the best thing that ever happened to me. Was on several online sites for a few years. A couple of dates here and there, but nothing serious. Then I connected with one girl and we clicked. First date ended up being a 3-hour conversation hanging out at a restaurant where we not only knew we went to the same college at the same time but had mutual friends. I thought it was too far-fetched that we hadn't met in college, so that night after the date I went through old digital photos convinced we had met. I found a group photo with her in it. Then remembered meeting her. We absolutely would not have worked as a couple. Thinking it was a bit much to tell her that I spent an hour scouring photos, I waited to tell her that we actually did meet in college. On our wedding day a year and a half later. It was a reveal in my vows, that even somehow after our first date I thought it would be a surprise to tell her later on. Our child just turned 10 weeks old, we love each other, and bigger like an old married couple, all because we had another chance to meet at the right time. I tried Bumble once. Went on a date and it worked out. We're still together 1 year on. That has been my first and only online dating experience. So literally a 100% success ratio for me, though I wasn't expecting that going in. Well, it works. I've been on 4 dates via Duck Tinder, and 1 date via Duck Bumble. Problem is, either I have bad luck, or I am just an idiot. Date 1, puked on me, and tried to make out with me naked in a hallway covered in vomit. Date 2, went psycho, and started to stalk me, and even found out where I worked. All this because I wouldn't help her steal a gosling from a petting zoo. Date 3, pretty sure it was a setup to rob me. Date 4, uneventful, but we realized we didn't click well. No craziness, a nice woman. We were just in different places in life. Date 5, Bumble, met in person, and she said I was too short for her. I'm 6'1", she was 4'11". I was able to bang 2 chicks with the same name consecutively. That's about all there is to report so far. Tinder, 6 months in, she is the most emotionally supportive people I've ever met. It gave me the courage to talk to women about dating and relationships, and I suddenly realized that I was wasting my time. I knew that I needed to talk to the girl that I actually knew, who I cared for, and who might have feelings for me. That was 7 years ago, and now I'm married to the love of my life. A, it's pretty low effort. 2, many of my dates originating online had successful outcomes, ranging from short-term relationships to marriage. Mind you, this was before Tinder. Met my wife on Craigslist personal ads back when those were things. It's done alright for me. I mean, 12 years together, 6 married, got a 6-year-old kid. She's kind of on the fence on us making it to 13 years though, lol. It didn't work until it did. I had lots of first dates, one-night stands, and fizzled crushes before I met my wife on Tinder about 3 years ago. It just took a while to find a girl who A, I was attracted to, B, was attracted to me, and C, had similar desires for what they wanted out of life. The big thing is just be yourself, improve yourself if possible, and be patient. Someone who appreciates you for the things that make you you will come along. You can't rush compatibility. Rather debilitating experience, lots of fraud in pictures and about me descriptions and fake likes, looking at you, match. I had pretty much given up, stopped subscribing, and only stayed on one where I could receive messages for free. And then a gal sent a message, we were an incredibly good fit. Had a heck of a lot of fun together. She moved in after 4 months with her 3 Bengal kitties. It's been a year now and we have 5 Bengal kitties. Dating is just a numbers game. Entertain anything that gets you dates. Online relationships are awesome. I'd love to be a part of one someday. Met a guy on Grindr and 2 years later we still happily together. Posted a comment on a metal band's official page and got a request from this chick. Started talking to her cause I wanted to bone but ended up with a house and a kid with her. 10 years strong straight out of MySpace. Tinder is hell. I've met a few cool people on Tinder and stuff but it never works out into a relationship. Usually we'll talk, add each other on social media, chat every now and then, but never actually meet up. I've ever only had one experience with going on dates with someone from Tinder but she turned out to be completely bipolar and a psycho. 99% of matches I get on Tinder do not reply, or conversations don't go anywhere, or their conversation skills are so dry I have to unmatch them because I am bored to tears by them. Also there's a lot of people who use Tinder just for Instagram followers it seems, which is so fucking vain it's unbelievable. I mostly use the likes of Tinder and Bumble as a means to proving to myself that they don't work. I could swipe right as often as it permits me, but I get nothing. I wouldn't even know what to do if I did get a match. I don't expect to get that far. So, the short answer in my case is it hasn't, though that's pretty much entirely my own fault. Edit. Having thought further about it, I've come to realize that I have no business in even trying online dating as I am. Not like anything ever came of it in the first place, anyway. I've now uninstalled them. No sense in deluding myself any further. Back in 2015 or 2016 in this app called Block KMAN Multiplayer I had 8 Minecraft wives. The app no longer exists. I don't know why, but let's just say I went to the store to buy milk. Had some good dates, been stood up a few times. It's a mixed bag. Met a girl on Tinder. While talking about our hobbies she mentioned that I perhaps would be good match for her best friend, both very nerdy. We agreed to meet up later at her home that day so I can meet her and to play some Smash Brothers. This totally happened, I swear. We had our 1-year anniversary about a month ago, smiley face. So not really dating, but I met my husband online. In a MSN chat room, in 1999 when online dating was unheard of. One day he sent me a whisper, a private message for those of you who have never heard of MSN chat, and asked if he could come see me. He lived 5 hours away and drove down to take me to dinner and then drove back home. 20 years later we are married for 13 years after doing long distance for 7, and have 3 kids. My friend was weighing the pros and cons of dating this girl. He described a girl who I thought sounded really great and advised him to see her. He didn't and I never met her. She had a unique name and years later I see that name on Tinder. I think it couldn't be a coincidence so I message her the story of my friend and how I thought he blew it. We've been dating for 7 months. I told my friend and he got a good laugh. Met her in July, now I'm in Japan at the end of a 3-week trip meeting her family. Wonderfully terrible. I met my wife in person shortly after creating an online dating profile, smiley face, great, except for the Y2K scare though back in 1999. I know 2 couples that met like that and both got married in the end and are still happily married. I got brutally murdered. 6 years ago met online. Now married with 2 children. She's beyond my best friend. Great ass Oswell. Matched on Tinder about 5 years back. Things hit off, we liked the same music and series, which was a big plus. After 3 years we moved in together and about a year later we both noticed how the relation became more difficult. She had feelings for someone else, but we would work that together. Until she went to a party, kissed him, and she decided this couldn't continue and I moved out within a week. Those 4 years were great, though living together took a toll. And always remember to search for something you feel good about. Don't stay with someone just because it's safe and you know how it is. If you're not comfortable, either both work on it, or be honest and call it quits. Met my soulmate and now wife while on a Tinder date. She wasn't the girl I was on the date with, but I still partially credit Tinder with putting me in the right place and time to meet her. I met my girlfriend of about 3 years on Tinder. We're pretty happy. As a personal note, 2 types of girls use Tinder: jaded girls looking to be entertained and girls who are about to become jaded to online dating. Your goal should be to maximize swipes on the second group if you are looking for something more serious. In order to do this, I live in a major city, I paid for Tinder Premium, to turn off the drip, and I removed the chaff by swiping left until I ran out of people. Took quite a while. After this, the only girls who would show up in my list were people just downloading Tinder. I was one of the first people my girlfriend swiped on. We live together and have a dog. 0 matches the whole time I've been on Tinder. I saw my ex there, and in her profile she basically described she was looking for a guy exactly like me, just not me. So I'd say my experience was pretty awful. I don't think online dating is really what it's cracked up to be. It allows people to be even more shallow than in person. We've been married over 10 years now, and we have 7-year-old twin girls. I've met about 6 women or so from online dating. 6th time's the charm, and we're engaged and going to get married next year, smiley face. Frustrating for many months. Got fed up and sent a few last-ditch effort messages to try to start conversations. One of those messages went to the right someone. Now I'm engaged.